Hey everyone, in this video today, wanted to share with you the 11 best practices when buying a rental property. My name's Tyler with Management One. Go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button below. We'll also be including a link to the blog post of this video so you can read more about it. But just wanted to share with you again the 11 best practices that we've found when looking to purchase an investment property. Now, rule number one, follow the rule of the cars. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, let's say you're looking to buy a car and you see a super old car that has no fenders, no hubcaps on the rims, etc., maybe even no engine or transmission, compared to one that maybe isn't the nicest car, but it has all the whistles and bells that you need. Which one are you going to choose? Now, depending on what type of person you are, neither or is necessarily bad, but just know going into buying that car or buying that investment property, how much work you're going to have to put into it. Obviously, the more distressed the property has been and not upkept over the years, the more it's going to take in terms of even the initial investment to get it up to par to rent it out to a potential renter, okay? Now, rule number two, check the plumbing. You always want to check the plumbing. Regardless of the age of the home, even if it's a newer home, you always want to check the plumbing. You also want to make sure if there were any water damages or leaks throughout the years before you're purchasing it, what that all entailed, and you want to get that from the previous owner. Rule number three, you want to check the roof. The roof, again, is one of those things as far as the plumbing. No matter how old or how new the property is, you always want to check the roof, all right? Now, what do we got for rule number four? You want to check out the neighborhood. You want to drive around, you want to get a feel for it, even though you're not living there, right? Most of the time you're going to want to drive around, you want to see what all of it entails before purchasing that investment property, especially if it's your first one or your second or third, you kind of want to get a feel for it, right? So just go ahead and if you can, check out the neighborhood and make sure it's one that maybe you would want to live in if you were to rent a property. Now, rule number five is you want to see the curb appeal that the property has, right? If there's dead grass and no lawn and it just doesn't have that beautiful curb appeal, you might want to think twice. Now, yes, you can do some repairs and renovations in terms of the landscaping and the outside exterior of the property, but that also goes into the neighborhood. You want to see the whole curb appeal and the feel that the neighborhood has as well. So we want to move on to rule number six, and guess what? Check out the sidewalks. You think it's not a big deal, but it is. You want to check out the sidewalks. You want to make sure if they're uneven surfaces or if the city, county, or if it's in an HOA, takes care of the things like that. You want to make sure that when you're purchasing your rental property, just always keep in mind, could I live here if I were to rent this property? Rule number seven, we want to make sure that you check the water heaters. Now, water heaters are one of those things just as ACs. You want to make sure how new it is because that will determine kind of what you ask for in terms of repairs if you're in the negotiation process of buying the investment property, etc. So just always make sure you check the water heater. Rule number eight is you want to check the electrical panel. So these are things that will come up in a home inspection when you purchase the property, but you still want to go over these things personally as yourself if you can, okay? Now, rule number nine is we want to look long and hard at the kitchen, right? The kitchen is the focal point of any property in most cases. That's where everyone gets together for holidays, family functions, things of that nature. You cook there, you clean there, kids do their homework in the kitchen. You want to make sure you look long and hard at the kitchen because that's where most of the money, if you have to do any renovations, is probably going to be spent, okay? Now, as we move forward in terms of rule number 10, you want to inspect the interior footprint. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, we mean that you don't just want to check the kitchen and things of that we spoke about. You want to check the light fixtures. You want to check the stair casing and the railings. You want to check all of these things to ensure that it's proper. And not to say if something's not perfect, it's could be a simple fix, but you do still want to check those things out when buying your investment property. Rule number 11, the final one, know your cost. Know your cost going into it. Know your cost of how much purchasing power you have in terms of the purchase price, your down payment, what all of that looks like, and then ultimately look at what cost you have in terms of how much you can put into the property to get it ready for a renter, whether that's $5,000, $50,000, whatever that may look like for you. Just make sure that you know your costs. So appreciate you watching this video. Again, the 11 best practices that we've found when buying an investment property. Tyler with Management One. Again, click the subscribe button because we'll definitely have more videos coming for you. And also click the link below to read more on the blog post. Hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day.